just kind of wanted to call in and share this, but I dated a girl for about 8 years, and her dad was always a super serious, retired military guy. He was a senior master sergeant for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and he'd never really been the type to joke or play around. I made a comment one night at a little family function about aliens and kind of took it as a joke, and he looks me square in the eyes and says, "What, you think they don't exist?" and proceeds to tell me I was a fool for not believing in them, that they in fact housed biologics and craft at Wright-Patterson for many years. I never heard him speak of it again. It was probably just the sauce that night at the function, but definitely an eye-opener for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Ramsey, and welcome back. Well, this isn't an episode of Debriefed. I thought I'd take a second to update you on a few of the things that are happening at Area 52, and also why I won't be posting a long-form podcast this week. I just got back from a trip to Spain. I kind of go there every year with a group of magicians. We hang out, trade secrets, and just kind of relax and unwind. And if you want to check out a sort of mini documentary that I edited for this trip, which features Jesse Michaels, by the way, who hung out with me in Spain during these 10 days, go check it out on, I left the link below. You guys can go watch that video. But something else drew me to this area of Spain, a case involving not only UFO sightings over a military radar base, but also an alleged encounter with a tall Nordic being at that very base. Now, what's interesting in the synchronicity here that I found is that I go to this thing every year, and it's a beautiful part of Catalonia. It's just on the coast, Mediterranean. It's absolutely paradise. But overlooking this natural paradise is this very synthetic and militarized sort of sphere that sits atop the highest peak. And this radar base that sits up there actually holds a few secrets. And although this was a vacation, I could not help myself. I had to document some of the weird and high strangeness that has occurred around this radar base while there. I also had the opportunity to interview the main witness, and that'll be coming up in a few weeks. I haven't had time to sit down and really crunch the edit as I just got back. I'm a little bit jet lagged. Just wanted to fill you in on one of the investigations that is currently ongoing, among many others, by the way. I mostly save these updates for the interns during our membership-only videos, which we post weekly. I thought I'd let you guys in on some of it at least, and maybe, hopefully, even entice you to go over there and check it out for yourselves. As this channel grows, so must my willingness to let go of some of the menial work. I'm very, very picky when it comes to the quality of this channel. If you hadn't already noticed, the attention to detail that I have is borderline psychotic. From the sets to the B-roll to the research that goes into every one of these topics and guests, I treat this channel with the utmost care and love and respect that this phenomenon deserves, that this subject deserves. But by doing all of this and editing all of these videos and doing all the research, and it's a lot. It is a lot. I knew going into this that I was getting into something that would consume 99, maybe even 110% of my time. And by that, I mean, I dream about this stuff too. And as a content creator, someone who's made videos for the past decade, I do understand the repercussions of pouring your heart and soul into a project like this. And I don't want to make some of the mistakes that I've made in the past and end up burning myself out. So I am currently working with a brand new editor. Well, brand new. This is somebody that I've worked with in the past that will be helping me with some of the videos starting next month, which is great. So finally, I'll have a little bit more wiggle room to actually focus my attention on some of these long-form sort of investigations that I've been, due to the lack of extra hands, neglecting. So bringing people on board doesn't correlate with less work. It just means it allows me, to have time to work more or work differently, I would say. All right, enough of the Area 52 updates. I want to also address a few things. This is not a news channel. At the early days of Debriefed and the early days of Area 52, we tended to cover a lot more of the topical situations happening throughout the world in the UFO community. But I didn't want to spend my time chasing ambulances. I find it highly stressful. I find it to be, honestly, just to be exhausting. Because as you break these stories, wait a week and you find out that they're a psyop or that someone's lying or that, new information comes to light. And there's just a never-ending slew of news to keep up with. So it's not something that I comfortably wanted to tackle, although some of it becomes relevant to past investigations, which we can then correlate and find connections through. But for the most part, I'd love to just focus on some of the stuff that already exists. I think that's where some gems are buried deep. Whether it's the tale of the police officer Herbert Schirmer getting abducted, or the meeting with Lacerda or the alien interview with Errol, according to Matilda McElroy, these stories to me are always so much more compelling than 99% of what's happening currently in the UFO zeitgeist. That being said, while in Spain, there was a congressional hearing. And I won't touch on this too much for two reasons. One, I didn't watch the entire thing. I picked up the Cliff Notes. I just haven't had time to really catch up. I'm going to. But two, I think it's great. I think it's great that we talk about it in the spotlight. I think it's great that people like George Knapp, have a platform after being a champion for ufology for decades, going to Russia, retrieving some secret files, like all these things, breaking the Bob Lazar story. So I think it was well-deserved that he was up there. I love that. And as for the other people that were up there as well, whether they're first or secondhand witnesses, I don't think it's bad, So I hear a lot of differing opinions on the internet about, it's a nothing burger, or it's this or it's that. Listen, we're talking about it. That's what counts, okay? When it comes to this topic, the more we talk about it, whether it's through these fantastical stories, whether it's through boots on the ground investigations and speaking to witnesses, or whether it's in Congress, or whether it's News Nation breaking another whistleblower, whatever it is, we're talking about it. If there's one thing that brings us all together, whether it's skeptics, whether it's believers, whether it's experiencers, whether it's witnesses, whether it's what have you, is the fact that we're all interested in this phenomenon. We're all looking for the truth at the end of the day. And people go about that in different little ways. And one of those ways happens to be through these congressional hearings, which to me, is the least interesting. I'll admit, has become the least interesting, I will say. But that doesn't mean it's irrelevant, and it doesn't mean it isn't important. It's just, personally, I'd rather speak to a farmer, than to like a lawmaker, we'll say. It's just kind of how I think my road to disclosure is paved. But that being said, I am so thankful for people like UAP Gerb. I'm so thankful for people like Jesse Michaels, and even all the other podcasts that are out there that are covering this stuff relentlessly. I'm so thankful that they're there, that I get to sort of absorb my news through these really hardworking podcasters like the UAP Files, Vetted, Disclosure Team. I know I'm missing a whole bunch here. Weaponized, Matt Ford, anybody. Pick your poison. I know a lot of people have differing opinions when it comes to the content they consume or the creator that creates that content, and that's totally fine. You're totally entitled to having your own opinion. But I'm just thankful that people are out there speaking about it. Now, how they speak about it may or may not be your cup of tea, but I think it's important that we at least recognize that there are people working diligently towards getting what they feel is the truth. That's all. That's all I wanted to say about that. Like an astronaut walking a tightrope, we need to seek a balanced perspective. And in order to do so, we need extremes. We need everything. We need the good, the bad, the ugly. Give it all to me. Give me the weird, the fantastical. Give me the lies. Give me the truth. Give me everything. Let me catalog it. Let me sort it out. Let me find connections myself. Let me create hypotheses and let me ponder these radical theories. But let me do so without committing to anything. And I think that's something that is completely overlooked in today's day and age. Everybody expects you to have some binary differing opinion. I think it's just so important that we just collect information, allow people to give you that information, and then just sit back and see what type of connections we can make ourselves without necessarily concretizing a solid opinion and then being forced to defend it. Let's just suspend it all. Oh, I feel like I was channeling something right there. Speaking of which, what do you guys think of channelers? I'd be interested in having one on the podcast. I think it'd be an interesting conversation. Maybe even someone like Bashar or Abraham Hicks, I think it is, or any of these sort of really popular channelers. I would love to pick their brains. It's always been a really difficult thing for me to wrap my head around, mostly because of the packaging seems so silly of someone, just kind of like almost in a state of possession, sort of spewing what seems like random words in a sequence of varying intonations. Just, well, today is the podcast where we...
Yes, we are here. We are here. We are very happy to be here. Yes, indeed, dear one. Yes, we are here. Yes, we do have a message for you and your community in the world. There will be a shift that will happen on your planet. The frequency.
Like this type, like that seems silly to me, but then the message itself has value. Like it really does. Like if you look into this stuff for even just a few minutes, you'll realize that like people like Bashar are extremely consistent with the amount of information, the quality of information that they present. So whether that's practiced or rehearsed sort of patter throughout the decades of them doing this, or if they are in fact sort of channeling something, or maybe they're just digging really deep within themselves. I think it's a Carl Sagan quote that says, "We are so out of touch with our higher selves that when we hear a voice in our minds, we think it's aliens." And I think that's just, I probably butchered that quote, but the sentiment sort of remains the same. But I would love to know what you guys think, because I think that could be perhaps some type of middle ground between interviewing an alien, which I still think is possible, by the way. I know some of you are out there being like, "You're crazy, Chris. You're never going to interview an alien." Says who? All right. I do believe I will. I think one day I will. Maybe I won't even know it. Who knows? But maybe a good middle ground is to make contact through, a channeler. I don't know. I'm just grasping here. What else do I got to work with? This is why I'm here. All right. I'm reaching for the fantastical. I'm accepting everything. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Another thing that I wanted to address in the news is this. So the user by the name of Wow posted this on Twitter. Not sure if this is a mistake by the National Archives. I found a video with no audio attached to researchers going through documents and videos of photographs related to the Roswell incident in 1947. Did they forget to edit out this part showing pictures of debris and possibly a craft buried in the mesa? Are these the first pictures of the 1947 UFO crash site? I could be totally wrong. Worth checking. Now, this is extremely interesting because the craft, as you can see here, which kind of is a little bit hard to see, but if you look at the comparison to the drawings that the witnesses from the Roswell crash depicted, there is a stunning resemblance. Now, mind you, this could also be some type of jet that crash landed, that was some type of experimental plane or drone. I'm not saying it isn't that. I just think it's interesting that within the Roswell National Archives, this would pop up, and it does match the description of the Roswell craft. But not only that, here's where it gets a little eerie. About 10 to 20 feet away from this craft, someone pointed out that this kind of looks like a being. Like some type of mangled alien body that was ejected from this craft, which would, again, match what the witnesses said. Now, let me know if any of that is ludicrous to you or whether this merits further investigation, which I think it does. I think it's very interesting. Any information that we have, again, is just very welcome around here. I hope you enjoyed this little update. These are going to be very few and very far between because we got a lot of stuff down the pipeline, which I am really excited to share with all of you. Check out area52.shop if you want to support us over here. Check out the memberships. Do all the things, but most of all, have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode. Peace and love.